Well, hello, 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 everyone. Or, I should say nobody who's going to be viewing this stream. Which is good. I need a moment to get this shit set up. Let's see if this results in a feedback loop. Hello. Hello, Unviewer. You ignored the warning. Okay, so I will be trying to critique Styxhexenhammer. Just give me a moment. If you're wondering who Styxhexenhammer is, well, you can get a kind of an idea from this. He's, well, not a very good quality content creator. Alright. Let me just get this set up. One more thing. Ugh. Whatever. We'll just start. Black separatism okay with the SPLC. The Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, I think we can guess where this is going, but let's review.
Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the SPLC deciding to delve into some newspeak, and it's like straight out of 1984, or something like that, where it's actually a little bit more like Animal Farm, when some animals are more equal than others. It is very, very strange, and there will be people that actually support this. First and foremost, though, if you're watching on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment. Actually, I'll pin a comment there with 4 links to other... I'll link in the description, because the SPLC Center is actually bragging about this. What they've decided is that for black separatist movements, they're going to collapse their list. Like, they have, like, white supremacist, neo-Nazi, black separatist, Christian identity, and I think a couple of others that they have there. But they've decided that this specific category of hate groups, some black separatist movements are okay. So if you're an identitarian, this is literally what they're saying. If you are a black identitarian, the SPLC does not have a problem with you. If you say kill whitey, that's perfectly okay. They specifically list only when those groups delve into anti-Semitism or outright terrorism, do they have a problem. So, you can be hateful. Their hate map will not show you all the hateful people that are there. They don't care about some of those groups, and their excuse, of course, is, well, this is a historically marginalized group, they're fighting white supremacy. No, saying kill insert ethnicity here is not fighting oppression. And it wouldn't be construed that way by any legitimate individual. Certainly the SPLC, maybe not the most commonsensical of groups, but they would never construe it that way for any other particular group, except for black identitarians.
I have my doubts, but let's look this up.
What they are
see if
fundamentally
that's
saying,
true. Southern Poverty Law Center. saying hate speech is okay. And I should say that this search is giving Styxhexenhammer quite the benefit of the doubt. The Federalist, the Southern Party. Well, we know where that's coming from. This is from last year. Let's see. Okay, so this is an opinion piece. Some people have some very strong opinions about the Southern Poverty Law Center. Let's see if Jessica Pearl Smith has a online profile to see if she has any slight bias. Oh, author at the Federalist. Well, yeah, that explains a lot. So, understand that all these critiques of the Southern Poverty Law Center are coming from some questionable sources. But, let's see. Yeah, being designated a hate group by the SPLC isn't defamation. I mean, obviously, like, don't shit on other races or minority groups. It's not that difficult.
Read it for yourself and consider the linguistic propaganda deeply embedded in this statement they're making, is that they do not have a problem with identitarian depending on who the identitarians are, and they do not have a problem with hate depending on who it's directed at. That is that they have created, in a de facto sense, an us versus them with this particular idea. Now, I've stood against all hate throughout my life. Somehow I still get cast off as an evil Nazi or something. The SPLC, meanwhile, gets cast off and universally applauded by the political system as fighting hate and fight bigotry and stuff.
The reason people call you a Nazi is because you use countless dog whistles, like globalism. And while the effect that America has on the rest of the world is no doubt pretty toxic, it's a lot better than some very authoritarian nations, and to say we should just step back is, well, it's not very thought out. But also, you go into some pretty conspiratorial thinking. If you want to know what I'm talking about, guys, you can just go look at more of this guy's YouTube videos. He's not a super high quality content creator.
And you're saying, well, Louis Farrakhan, well, we don't really have a problem with most of what he says. It's just that whole not liking Jews thing that we don't like. If he doesn't like other groups of people, though, not really a problem. Oh, he said kill the police? That's fine, no, we don't stand with that thin blue line stuff. Oh, he said something about white people.
Well, the police have proved that they're pretty damn authoritarian with how well they treated the Capitol rioters, and yet they've hurt or injured hundreds of Black Lives Matter protesters. Someone lost an eye at the Dakota pipeline protest. They're pretty authoritarian. Like, if someone is in a position of power and saying, kill all police, then yeah, that calls for a different level of extrication, but not this. What you're talking about is an instance of an individual who doesn't have a huge online platform, and who also isn't, it's very tasteless, don't get me wrong, but there is no history of oppression of police. And even if there was, a police is a profession that you can choose. Being black, being ethnically Jewish, well, it's not something you can choose, at least according to the very people who went on to commit genocides against those Nazis.
Being responsible for X, Y, and Z, that's fine too. And collective punishment for a group of people, many of which had nothing to do with whatever grievance you legitimately have, I would think. It's about time all these groups, though, need to wise up. Just saying to the ethno-nats and similar groups, for the most part, most of the problems that you identify are the result of globalistic government policies. Most of them. And the cabal that runs the world is not, it's like a fucking rainbow, so it takes all types to tango. Do you think that the black president of Nigeria and the white president of the United States don't both endeavor to collectively screw their populations and make money off of them at their expense? They parasitize most of the populations in the world. The problem is this, the only exemption to globalism is like deeply impoverished states that have been...
The black president of Nigeria versus the white president of the United States. I don't think there's a history of racism against black people in Nigeria. There is in the United States. And yes, these class issues are at the root of everything, but you can't just say they completely invalidate race issues. It's absurd. And again, with the conspiratorial globalist policies that you never really delve into. Anyways.
Fucked by globalism, or tin horn states that hold out against globalism, but arguably in some ways are worse. Like Venezuela is not kind of sort of, I mean, at least in the Western Bloc sense, isn't part of that same sort of global cabal system, but it's still subjugated to the Chinese, who in turn partner with globalism. You can go to Malawi, you can go to Rwanda or something, but then, you know, you can go to Haiti.
Venezuela is subjugated to the Chinese. Well, I'll admit I haven't looked into this too much, but if I were to guess why that might be the case, it's probably because the US has put sanctions against Venezuela, because we really don't like anything even approximating socialism. I'll have to look into this more, but your opinion just doesn't seem very valid. To say that China owns Venezuela, well, I'll look into it later. We'll see.
But then the Clintons will come and fuck you in the ass because the state's too weak to protect you against the globalists, even if it doesn't work with them outright. Black separatism is just as nonsensical. I mean, imagine this. Imagine if there were a white separatist group, and they're like, well, we don't even hate black people. Like, imagine like the Proud Boys with Tario there, who got cast off as being a Fed snitch, despite the fact that he was actually calling out actual terrorism. I believe it.
The Proud Boys are a pretty racist group. They're just a lot more, or I should say, a lot less open about it. And don't get me wrong, I don't support black nationalists either. But the reason they're able to be far more open about it is because there are far fewer of them, they hold far less power, and there is not a history of racism against white people. There is against black people, at least in the US. And I know this is not the case for every country in the world, but generally speaking, it is true.
At the time, so it's not like he was glowing in the dark, but that's the way the media cast it off to try to fracture their particular movement. And it was interesting. So you got this half-black individual, this Hispanic individual, running the supposed white supremacist organization. You have hit pieces, stink pieces in the media.
My god, the fucking identity politics that you accuse leftists of. And don't get me wrong, liberals can be very frustrating with their identity politics. Obviously, I prefer policy over someone's racial, ethnic, or sexual identity. But you can't go throwing stones from glass houses, or I mean, I guess you can. You're not a very good content creator, but
You're now saying, well, it's possible for black people to be white supremacists. We're living in clown world, dude, and now the SPLC is saying it's okay to hate white people. That's fine. Just don't hate the Jews. Just don't hate the Hispanics down the road with which you've had a family squabbles. That steps over the...
I'd be curious to say where you've said that the SPLC has said it's okay to hate white people. You haven't provided an actual quote or source for that, and I haven't been able to find anything on it in just my quick search here, so I have doubts.
The line. But as long as you're harassing or disliking, as long as it doesn't delve into outright terrorism, your hate is not going to be listed on the hate map anymore. Because it is codified, it is good hate. It's new hate. That's about all. Peace out.
Alright. So, Styxhexenhammer, like, obviously not all of his videos are the same, but he's releasing quite a few a day. And so... he references globalism quite a bit in all of these. He's very vague with his language, and I mean, it's not as easy to critique him as it is others because he doesn't say as much. But there you have it. This is what I could do with a live stream, not having seen this video before. So it should tell you how seriously you should take someone despite having literally